Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. Let's talk about the possibility that silver markets are dying. This all started from a couple days ago. I was reading an article how India and several other countries are cutting back their imported amount of silver, and the production of silver worldwide has been decreasing drastically by the hundreds of millions of ounces. Several countries not importing anywhere near as much silver and gold as they used to, and the demand seems to be diminishing. Now, why is this? Even the top three producers for precious metals, Mexico, Peru, and Chile, all have been cutting back silver production by the millions of ounces, and this isn't just on a smaller scale, this is globally. So it seems like people don't want anything to do with silver as much as they used to. And why is this? I mean, it still is as profitable. I mean, prices aren't extremely low. It's not like it's a bear market, but the demand is also there as well. So it's not even like no one's buying it. It's not like people aren't interested. It just seems like there isn't as much silver going around in circulation. So let's talk about this, and let's talk about how it could affect prices. Now, we know that low supply, high demand shoots the price up. And silver demand isn't something that's going to be going away. Even with these big companies and corporations, these businesses, these tech firms, the people that need to make these laptops, these cell phones, even the medical world for it, there's silver nanoparticles. The technological era we're advancing in needs silver. So the demand for silver is going to be needed from an industrial and a consumer standpoint, especially if we want our gadgets to be somewhat even close to being affordable. Because if not, the prices would be extremely high. If we had to replace silver with some other metal or gold, it would be a lot more expensive. So we need this for consumer and producer, type of situation. So why is this imported goods, thing, this scenario going on, and why is it cutting back so much? We never really got a real answer. The article came from when I was talking about, I think it was coming from the article when I was reading about the miners that aren't focusing on silver anymore, using it from bypassing silver, basically abandoning silver mines. And they were mentioning how the top three silver producers over the last 7 years have been cutting back their productions of silver and actually are betting that silver isn't going to be profitable whatsoever. And they said that gold is their main focus right now, also lead and zinc, and they're only finding silver from bypass or by accident. So they're not even focusing any focus on silver mines right now. And this isn't because it's hard to find, it's because they aren't making money from it. And obviously, the dollar is king. People are going to chase the dollar. So if there's no money being made in it, they're not going to focus on it at all. Now, this is really important because gold to silver ratio is 82 to 1, but it comes out of the ground 8 to 1. Every 8 ounces of silver equals 1 ounce of gold. But right now, that means the ratio is even lower, because that means that more gold is getting dug out of the ground than silver right now. So the ratio is probably around 4 to 5 to 1. And with that said, silver is extremely undervalued, extremely undervalued. Historically, the ratio is around 40 to 1. For it to be high, quote unquote, a high ratio is 50 to 1. Right now it's 82 to 1, and that's still relatively low compared to the 95 to 1 ratio we saw a couple months ago. So right now, where is silver headed? I mean, there has to still be. I mean, I just made a video talking about silver's prices in the next 10 years. If you want to go check that out, highly recommend it. But in that video, I was mentioning how even if silver reaches $100 theoretically, people are still going to be buying it. Not only because it's going to be in the spotlight and people that haven't found it yet are going to need to buy it to catch up, and also the industrial use for it. I mean, even if silver's $100, it's not like these companies are just going to stop buying it. They still need to use it. So supply and demand could be a very large influencing factor in this whole thing. I don't think silver is ever going to die. It never has, and you have to look at the historical data shown. Anytime you want to make a claim or have a theory, look historically, go back in time and see how it's worked. Silver has always been valuable. It's always been seen as a useful, valuable, tradable form of currency for 6,000 years, thousands upon thousands of years longer than the dollar. The dollar's only been here for, a couple years, and it's actually not even working properly. I mean, the dollar's lost 98% of its purchasing power. So that's stuff to think about. Do you think the markets are dying, and why do you think these countries aren't importing as much silver? And do you think that there's something else behind the scenes? Because they even said in the article, they were mentioning that a portion of this ratio could be because a lot of it is getting smuggled under, under the radar. So there's a lot of silver not being documented. So that could play the case. But even after that, they said incorporating this possibility, it still isn't affecting the prices or affecting the amounts that we're saying here. So that's scary to think about. I mean, silver shortages are real. They happen. We saw a silver shortage of American Eagles earlier this year. That affected prices. We've seen shortages throughout the years. But right now, I feel that silver has the most potential with the highest demand coming. As the economy gets worse, as tensions rise between Iran and China and Hong Kong protests, as Trump's impeachment gets spread around, as the 2020 presidential election comes around, the economy and the society is going to be more worried. They're going to be more fearful about this stuff. And this is going to drive silver demand higher. When people fear in the economy, they drive towards safe haven investments or safe haven assets, which is gold and silver. It's the best alternative. Always been used as money. You can hold your value within itself. It's not going anywhere. It always has been deemed valuable. It's stuff to think about. I like to use the term, if you want to think about the timeless value silver has, a 50-cent walking Liberty half dollar could have bought you a gallon of gas back in the day, and that same 50-cent walking Liberty half dollar can buy you a gallon of gas today. Now, back in the day, you would have bought it with the face value. The 50 cents could have bought you a gallon of gas. Nowadays, you could take that 50-cent walking Liberty, go to the coin shop, sell that walking Liberty for $7 or $8 and buy a gallon of gas with it. Nowadays, it's not used for the face value, but the metal inside of it. See, silver is timeless because it has intrinsic value. The metal inside of it is also valuable. So even though our money back in the day, 50 cents, a 50-cent half dollar had 50 cents of silver in it, nowadays it still has silver in it. So the silver is intrinsic and it's timeless. It's always going to be valuable. We're always going to need it. They always have needed it throughout the centuries, throughout human history. So I don't think silver markets could ever actually die. Silver will always be needed, but the dollar could die. The dollar is deflating extremely fast due to hyperinflation. We're pumping out worthless dollars into an economy, into a system that is trying to get ourselves out of debt by replacing it with more debt. And that never is going to work in any type of situation. It never has. That's why there's so many cashless nations appearing. That's why people carry their money in trash bags, because their dollar bill is so worthless. It's been so pumped and impregnated with, this hot air that's not even worth anything, that it's collapsing and it's popping. The bubble's popping, and the truth is showing that there's nothing really backed by this quote unquote currency or this money. Now, what makes something money? I made a video about this earlier too, a couple months ago, and it's talking about it has to be tradable, it has to be tangible, it has to be systematically useful and have some benefit behind it. And silver and gold fit into all those categories, but not even our own fiat currency did that. That's stuff to think about. When you think of money, what do you think value is? If you think of value as a dollar bill, then you're missing the whole point. Money is real money is silver. The dollar bill is a promise. It's a promissory note. If you go back and watch some of my videos when I talk about lawful money versus legal tender, and I kind of describe how we've separated from the dollar. It's sad because back in the day we had a very good shot at actually making a system that worked. But nowadays nothing works, and it's never going to, because our money isn't backed by anything with real value. And now hyperinflation is destroying the economy. We're $24 trillion in debt. The dollar's lost 90% of its purchasing power. And even though in America we're one of the richest countries, we're not a third world country, but we're still going to face the same consequences, and we're still going to have the same end result as we're seeing in these other countries. It's just happening faster for them. So you see the people who have to carry their money in trash bags, and they weigh their money on scales at the cash register because their dollars are so worthless. it would take too long to count out all those single dollars to buy a candy bar, because it's like the equivalent of a US dollar bill having the purchasing power of 2 pennies. So to buy something that's $1.50, you would have to pile on a whole bunch of these dollars, and it's not even worth it. That's why we're going into the digital age, but there still has to be a new system in place. And gold and silver is going to be there, because even in the technological era we're advancing in, if that's the case, we're still going to need silver, because silver is the most highly conductive metal for thermal conductivity and electricity, and nothing's ever going to replace that. So we're going to keep needing it. So yes, silver will not be dying. The markets are going to be fully flourishing, and more as people realize this, I think it's going to be spread around. But obviously, we still need to do our duty. That's why I make these videos, to inform people, to educate people on the benefits of it, and also to help them, because it will transform your life, and you can finally start saving and putting your hard-earned money into something that preserves its wealth against a deflating dollar. But anyways, I do hope you guys appreciated this video. If you did, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. I do post daily videos. I highly recommend you go check out the video I just made a couple hours ago talking about the silver price in 10 years. It's a long video, but it's one of my favorites. I dug really deep. It was a very thorough video talking about the potential of silver's price and what factors are going to be influencing it. The link will be in the top left-hand corner. Also, check out some of my other videos as well. So anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I will see you guys soon. Peace.